Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media. In the dense and silent forests west of Fort Nelson, British Columbia, the morning of July 4th, 2025, began much like any other on the fire line. Smoke from the Summit Lake fire hung in the air, mingling with the scent of sap and scorched earth. The roar of helicopters and the whine of chainsaws echoed intermittently, but deeper in the woods, silence still clung to the shadows. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. You know, firefighters have always been a captivating group of people. Many children dream of being a firefighter and recognize how special and helpful firefighters are to society. They're the civil servant version of the cowboy wearing the white hat in old westerns. Backcountry firefighters are a whole new breed. They parachute into the backcountry when they're not helicoptered in and put their lives on the line to protect the forests. They're like the civil service versions of Rambo, but don't shoot the bad guys with bullets. Not only is their skill set unique, but their tools are limited to what they can pack. A practical tool for felling trees to create a fire line is a chainsaw, and it's paired with a Pulaski. Now, for those of you who aren't too sure what a Pulaski is, it is a specialized axe with a thick hoe-like blade on the opposite side of the axe head. The axe can be used to sever tree limbs or roots, while the hoe can be used to scrape them from the ground, thus clearing a fire line of combustible fuels. On July 4th, 2025, the morning began quietly on the western flank of the Summit Lake fire. It had already burned through more than 200,000 acres of spruce and pine by early July, and would be part of a catastrophic wildfire season that saw over 1.5 million acres scorched in northeastern British Columbia, and more than 10 million acres consumed across Canada, 3 times the area that normally burns in a typical year. The fire was first detected in late May and raged for weeks before crews managed to contain much of its perimeter. On this particular day, the fire was classified as being held, but crews still patrolled and reinforced its control lines under heavy smoke and heat. The remote zone was so rugged that personnel had to be flown in by helicopter and worked in terrain largely untouched by human activity. The Firefighter, a seasoned crew leader with the BC Wildfire Service, whom we'll refer to as Bernie, advanced ahead of his crew along a narrow corridor between burnt trees and glowing stumps. His boots crunched on blackened needles, and the heat from the fire behind him still radiated through the forest floor. In his right hand he carried his Pulaski, its edge nicked and scarred from days of cutting fire breaks. Bernie knew this job came with risks. The fire was dangerous enough, but he knew the untamed terrain full of life was not just trees and birds. When it happened fast. A low growl stopped him cold. Ahead, just beyond a half-fallen spruce, stood a grizzly sow, her massive head swinging up from where she'd been nosing the ground. 2 cubs huddled close to her hindquarters. Her fur bristled, her eyes fixed on him, and before he could even register her fully, she charged. Bernie raised his Pulaski instinctively. The sow's roar filled the forest, drowning out everything else. When she closed the distance, he swung the tool hard, striking her shoulder. She staggered, but came on anyway. Her weight hit him like a freight train, knocking him into the ashy soil. He managed another swing before her teeth found his arm, and her claws raked across his chest. Something about a firefighter's grip must be mentioned here. Bernie not only held on to his Pulaski after slamming it into the bear's shoulder, he also clung to it after being knocked to the ground. Pushing the hickory handle between himself and the angry grizzly, a hollering Bernie managed to wedge it crosswise in the sow's mouth as she tried to bite onto his neck or head area. Using the handle like a bit in the horse's mouth, Bernie guided her head away from him each time she tried to bite down. Behind him, his crew heard the commotion. They came running, shouting, and firing up their chainsaws to full throttle, the engines screaming against the silence. From above, a helicopter swooped in, dumping water nearby. The sow paused as noise and chaos filled the air, then finally turned and disappeared into the trees, her cubs trotting close behind. Bernie lay on the ground panting, his hands still gripping his Pulaski, its blade now streaked with fur and earth. Blood seeped through the sleeve of his jacket, but as his crew surrounded him, he felt something like relief. The bear was gone. They patched him up with what supplies they had and radioed for a medevac. Within the hour, he was lifted out of the forest and flown to a hospital in Fort Nelson. The doctors cleaned and dressed his wounds, which they described as minor, and released him later that day. The BC Conservation Officer Service later confirmed what everyone on the crew already knew. The attack was defensive. The sow had simply been protecting her cubs, reacting on instinct after being surprised. There would be no hunt, no bullets. The bear and her cubs would live to roam the wilderness another day. Speaking of cubs, our Cub Tier membership on Patreon, linked below, will give you ad-free early access to our episodes, notes, and pictures. And the $3 per month goes a long way in helping me continue to produce educational and entertaining content like this. The province of British Columbia hosts up to 18,000 grizzly bears over its 364,764 square miles, tallying a bear density of 1 bear per 20 square miles. Keep in mind that grizzlies flock to where the food is, so that means the best habitats have the most bears. One thing's for certain, when Bernie finally returns to the line on another fire, he'll find himself glancing into the shadows more often than before. His Pulaski gripped a little bit tighter, his senses sharper. And somewhere out there, in the vast and beautiful quiet west of Fort Nelson, a grizzly and her 2 cubs continue to roam the woods, wild and unbroken, just as they had before. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. If Bernie hadn't blocked the sow's bites with his Pulaski, do you think she might have killed him? Was the wildfire a contributing factor in the lead-up to the attack? Could this attack have been prevented by bear spray or a firearm? I will gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it. Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We've slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.